Welcome to the Caras Show, where we explore the cutting edge of wellness. I'm Cara Sundlin. I know a lot of us have probably experimented with the law of attraction and manifesting, but is there actually a scientific way to really help manifest your dreams? Well, today we're learning about a process. I'm fascinated by this, a process called scripting, because neuroscience actually uses brain scans that have shown the brain doesn't know the difference between a real memory and an imaginary one. So can you actually script what's happened, and your brain will just think, hey, this is what we need to do, and actually increase your ability to receive? Well, Natasha Graziano is a life coach who is an expert on scripting, and she actually uses it with Hollywood stars and even regular folks with her 17 million social media followers. So she's here to kind of break it down for us. We've had a lot of interest in the newsroom, like, what is scripting? So thank you for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here today. Your show is awesome, and I'm excited to dive into what scripting is and how it can transform your life.
Yeah, let me start with, I think your personal story is pretty compelling. You didn't begin where you are right now. You said you had a drug addiction, you were a broke single mom, and scripting helped change everything for you. Can you tell us a little bit how you started out and how you found this process?
Absolutely. I remember standing in the mirror one day. I was in my darkest moment, and I was looking in this mirror, listening to, at the time, a Denzel Washington motivational speech, and it was preaching life over me, making me feel that and understand that pain is just temporary. What we go through is where we grow, and understanding how this, what I was experiencing, was not actually the be all and end all. This was just a moment in time, and the tears are streaming down my face. I am distraught. I had an illness at the time. I feel like a failure to my son. I'm a disappointment to the world. And I've lost who I was, Cara. And in that moment, I had a breakthrough. In that moment, I just heard this feeling, as the only way I can describe it, is like an audible feeling of, you're going to do something different. You're going to be a motivational speaker, and you're going to help others. And I said, okay, show me how to get better in this moment. And I promised to go on and serve that to the world. And that was something I committed to. So in that moment, I decided, what is something that I've never done that I would love to try? And scripting was that answer to me. I didn't know it was called scripting at the time of what I created later down the line. I knew I'd always journaled. I'd always written in my journal about, gratitude, or how my day went, or just day-to-day journaling, or maybe hateitude even. I call it hateitude. But I didn't do this specific thing until this moment. And this is when everything changed for me. Yeah. When I decided to write about myself in the third person, in the past tense. So I wrote a story about myself that sounded like, Natasha had a breakthrough. Natasha became the #1 female motivational speaker in the world. And it didn't matter that I didn't know if it was the truth or not in the moment. In fact, it couldn't have been further from the truth. In fact, I was a girl who was unwell. I was a single mom. I had no money. I was in debt. It didn't matter whether it was true or not. It's whether I believed it or not. So I started to write this story, and just, what if it could be true? What if I could make this true? What if I could feel that this feeling could possibly be real? I could trick my brain into thinking it was a memory. Your brain doesn't know the difference between whether it's a memory or imagination. And guess what? It starts to bring it about into fruition.
I mean, it's so powerful. Our thoughts really are powerful, and science is really bearing this out. I mean, people might have read The Secret years ago and said, well, I tried that manifesting stuff and it doesn't work for me. I don't know. How can I say that I have a bunch of money when I have a bunch of debt? I just don't believe it. And you talked about belief systems, which I know are also important in the process. But let's break this down. Like, how does scripting work? What do you do to do it right?
To do it right, there are a set of rules, Cara. And these rules are very simple to follow. #1, you write about yourself as a story in either the third person or the first person, and in the past tense. So you don't do, I am going to be, or I will. Those are futures. They don't exist. You put distance between you and the thing you want. Instead, what you do is you write about it as though it's already happened. In order to make this goal, this dream come to life, you've got to write it like it's already happened in your life. So you write in the third person or first person, and in the past tense. Very important. That's rule 1. Rule #2 is to get clarity on everything you truly want. When I ask my clients at the very start, what do you want? Most of them are like, well, I want a bit of this, I want a bit of that. They're all over the place. Or worse, they don't even know. So I love you to get clarity on what it is you want. Know specifically what you want to achieve and write that down. And then we go to rule 3. And this is a really interesting part because you start to connect with what your real self-concept about yourself is. What is your self-concept now? What do you actually think about yourself now? Who do you think you are today? Because the person you want to be is completely different to the person that you are right now. There is a gap, and we've got to bridge that gap between the two. Yeah. How do we bridge that gap? By recognizing where we're at.
Well, that's the important part, right? Because I think this is where people get stuck. I've had some amazing, miraculous manifesting things happen. And then other times you're like, well, I'm still waiting. So the acknowledgement of the gap, how do we do that? Because I think sometimes people fear, well, if I talk about or think about what I'm doing right now, you know, then I'm not helping my belief system. So how do you, that's important in your book that you're talking about this. So how do we really take care of that gap of, okay, I'm in debt, but I am a successful motivational speaker? There's a bridge there.
Yep, absolutely. So how do we take care of it? We recognize who we are today is so different to this person we want to be. And therefore we write out the new thoughts, feelings, and actions that this new version of you would have. How does that version of you think and feel every day? What are they doing? Because I assure you, it's so different from what you're doing today. Today, you're probably investing in bad habits. You've probably stored a lot of emotion from the past that you were allowing to rent space for free in your mind. Maybe something happened to you when you were a child. You were told you're not enough. You're letting that store space in your mind for free, and it ruined your current scenario. So you have to recognize these things and say, okay, you know what? I'm moaning a lot. I'm whining a lot. I'm bitching a lot. I'm taking these bad steps every day. I'm not going to the gym like I want to feel good. I'm eating unhealthy habits. All these things are your bad habits, right? So we look at that, and then we look at the version of you. How would they behave? They would probably go and do that workout every day for their health. They would probably stop the binge eating at 11 p.m. And trust me, I'm human. I do that too, honey. But we got to find a way to cut it out so it's not a regular habit. You got to take those pieces out that do not serve that new version of you. This version of you also, by the way, doesn't whine and moan because they are so grateful that they've achieved this goal already. They are living in a state of abundance and feeling amazing every day because they've already achieved it. And that's not who you're playing at today. You're playing at a 2.0 version when you've got to upgrade and become a 10.0 version. Okay. You've got to become the 10.0 version today.
So I have had the experience of using scripting, it's been kind of incredible sometimes where I had a big meeting coming up and maybe I was a little nervous about it. So I did write about myself in the third person, and I wrote just very quickly, like a page. And I have to tell, because I want our audience to know that I had this experience, that I actually walked in and the title of the project and what I was hoping to bring forth in this meeting, I walk in and the person who I was speaking with had the exact same thing written on their page. So I was like, whoa! So this is how I now knew that I'm like, but on another level, on a practical level, I felt better. I felt more prepared. I felt like I had already done some prep and rehearsed this in my mind and gotten to the point where maybe some of the butterflies were gone. So those practical things help too, I imagine.
Oh my God, absolutely. But you've got it right there. You see the word you said? It was like a rehearsal. It was like you rehearsed it in advance. When you rehearse it, no different to when an athlete is going to compete, he's going to run a race. They rehearse it in their mind mentally before they do it. And when they've connected them up to brain scans and body scans with all these EEG and advanced computer science things, they have shown that the same muscles they use when running that race are the same muscles that are triggered and activated when they are doing the visualization of it. This is no different to what we are doing here with scripting. We are writing it down as though it's already happened, activating the feelings that will happen when we have achieved it. So it makes it more likely to be mirrored in our outer reality. And yeah, of course, you feel more prepared. You feel better. The physical sides of it, the tangible sides are awesome. You go in and say, hey, guess what? I've already kind of written how I want this to go. And I'm probably going to gear my conversation towards it. And I'm more prepared. I know what I want out of this. You get clarity.
Yeah, so you're broadcasting a stronger signal because you know what you want. But you say we need to be specific and set a date and time and place. Maybe our audience has heard of Jim Carrey, who, you know, was going to give up acting, but he put a date and he wrote himself a check for $5 million, and he wrote a date of like, I'm going to get a check, you know, this much for a role in a movie, and if not, I'm going to go do something else. And like on that date, he got exactly that. He jokes that I should have written 15 million or something, but there's also the thought that we should be open and curious and allow the universe to just bring things to us. So talk a little bit about that. It seems almost contrary. Be specific, set a date and time, and then be open and curious.
Right. Well, you can lean into the idea and say, you know what, I'll just let the universe do what I want. But how about if you aren't living the life that you want, you aren't yet where you want to be, if you decide where you want it to go, if you're already living the life you want to lead, you've got the love of your life, you've got all the money in the bank that you want, you're giving in the world in a philanthropic way, if you're doing all that stuff, then yeah, maybe continue in that way. However, if you're not, and I've never met one person who has actually said, I am so happy in every area of my life. I've never met somebody who has said, I don't want better health, I don't want more money, or I don't want more love. Every person wants to better their life in some way, in health, wealth, or otherwise. And so, therefore, if you try this and you allow yourself to take the reins on life, you get on the horse with the reins rather than just sitting on the horse and letting it ride you into the abyss, ride you away. When you hold the reins of the horse, you take control of your life. You decide what you want to achieve. And the reason we set it in time and space, which was the fourth rule on scripting, is because then you don't leave it up to sort of this unknown energy of when it will happen. You decided, hey, I want to make it happen now. I don't want to procrastinate. We'll procrastinate. If you write down, I'll make it happen by 2025, you won't even start it till 24. You won't even start it till near 25 in December when you run out of time. If you set it sooner, you actually make actionable steps towards it because you say, this has got to happen. I've got to make this happen. How can I make this happen? And you start trying to bring it into your life anyway. And on top of that, you start to attract scenarios, people, events, and places to you that will bring this goal to fruition faster.
Which is also exciting, and I love, you know, I know you have become one of the world's most popular female motivational speakers alongside folks like Tony Robbins. So what you wrote down happened. I know Oprah one time wrote OWN Network on a napkin, and then look at her, she's got the OWN Network now. So I think a lot of folks can see, wow, I did that. But people are going to say, well, when? How do I know it's working? Or, you know, is it bad to be putting a time frame as far as like an impatience? Or how do we deal with the when's this going to happen part of us?
That is called just letting go. That is called literally when I order something today online, I go online, I go on my favorite vendor and I shop and I buy. So this morning, you guys are talking about that awesome tea. So when I go on their website and I buy it, I put in my order. I know what I want. I know exactly specifically what I want. And I also say, actually, I'm going to pay extra because I want it to come at this time. And I know when I want it to arrive usually. And then I go about my day, right? We just go about our business. We go about our day and then it arrives later that day or the next day or whenever you've determined it to arrive. Hopefully, maybe give or take, it might be a couple of days late. However, you set it in time and space. No difference. So when you put your order into the universe, like when you order from your favorite vendor online, like when you buy something online, you put it in and then you just go about your day.
Right, we don't worry about it.
Yeah, absolutely. The thing that people miss is that they forget to connect the rest of their life to it. So they want this goal, they put their order in, they write it down, they script it out. But the part that they forget, the most important piece, is the rest of their life is contradicting this goal. So they are not focused in the rest of their life on this goal. You have to make sure you're in alignment through your new thoughts, your feelings, and your actions that I spoke about before, of how that version of you would behave once that desired goal is manifest.
So that's part of it. It's not just people say, oh, come on, you can't just wish for it. You know, a wish without a plan is just a dream. So you're asking people to dream big, to write it down in the scripting, in past tense, like a story, but then we do need to take action, right? That's part of it.
We do. Action is the last part of the word attraction. When you look at the word attraction, don't just think about like, oh, if I'm really wonderfully happy in my thoughts, then it will come back to me like that. No, sweetie. Action is a big part of it. What are you doing every day to take actionable steps towards that goal? When I wanted to manifest meeting the love of my life, who I'm now married to, I did that in 3 weeks. I wrote down exactly what I wanted, a story about myself. This is what my life was like when I met him. I loved it. It was so romantic. I'm so happy that I met the love of my life. He adores me. I was so deeply in love and blah, blah, blah. And I wrote this beautiful fairy tale and all the attributes about him. But I didn't just stop there. I then decided to go and fix up my wardrobe. I took a step. I said, what am I going to wear when I meet this guy? Let me sort out my wardrobe. Let me create some space on the kitchen table for where he'll sit with me and my son. Let me create space in my life. Let me also take steps towards perhaps, I mean, it was COVID, so going out wasn't an option, but perhaps going online on a dating site might have been a good idea. Before I'd even got to the dating site, the guy had walked into my life online. We didn't meet. We met online. So it does happen, and it can happen super fast. As quick as 24 hours, it can happen in 3 weeks, like it did for me with love. And it's super fun. And it's a big piece that is really important, I want to mention, Cara, is celebrating your wins as you get them. Yeah. So even if today you just write down some things in the past tense. I had the most amazing week. I watched Caras' show every day, and it just inspired me and fired me up. And then I got this inspiration to go and do something else and blah, 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 blah. Write out what it is that you want to achieve in that week. And then if you win something on that, see it like a game. It's a simulation. If you actually achieve any one of those goals, don't just throw that to the side. Celebrate it. Live in that moment. Be like, oh my God, it works. I'm winning. Once you start winning, you don't want to stop winning, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I know you have a book coming out. It's Be It Until You Become It. So it's coming out.
It's already out.
Oh, it's out now.
It's already out.
Can we order it like now?
It came out in August.
Okay, it's okay. I wasn't sure if it was on the bookshelves, so we can get it now. Be It Until You Become It. So you go through some practical things, and you've done some research and some neuroscience. Give us some examples of some of the practical exercises and the scientific studies that you have put into this book.
Great question. So the book has gained a lot of traction. It's actually a Wall Street Journal bestseller in USA Today now, which is awesome. And the reason for that is because of these studies. So you've tapped into the exact point. The studies inside the book show the science behind what we're talking about. They show the science behind every piece of the law of attraction. I was a very skeptical person once upon a time. I come from a scientific background with a father who's a scientific doctor and into creating medicines and all kinds of things. And so I don't come from the traditional sort of, the woo-woo side of it. However, I know there is a point where physics and the metaphysics join. There is a point where quantum physics really does exist and is real. And there is, inside of the book, studies from various different universities, amazing latest journals that have been written, which show proof in the pudding for what we're talking about.
Well, and I love yes, I failed to mention it is a bestseller right now. I have to imagine, did you script that part?
I did. Really, really interesting. I wrote down, I wrote a book which helped millions of people. I wrote a book which was called Be It Till You Become It. Once I decided the title, I was like, Be It Till You Become It, which helped people unlock their full human potential, would help people to end their personal suffering. And because of the people I was helping, it in turn received the Wall Street Journal and USA Today bestseller award. And that for me was such an important part of my process, knowing that I'm scripting everything I have today, everything from my life, where I live, my homes, my heart, my partner, my family, and my best-selling books. And so I do that to show it works. And I continue to do it. I'm manifesting things right now, and I write them down.
Yeah, so how do you do it practically? Do you keep a journal near you? Do you have a certain time of day that you do this? Have you found that certain things work better than others? Oh, there's your journal.
Absolutely. I keep a book and I write a journal. You can get a journal from anywhere. Literally, this is, just a journal that you grab from your local store online. I just take it out and I start writing. And here's what I like to write on the first page. I like to write, Once upon a time, there lived a person named Natasha Graziano, and this is her story, or this is their story. And then next to that, you're going to start writing every day. Do you know when the best time to write is? Right before you sleep.
Okay.
Right before you sleep, right? Because right now you're in beta, but before we sleep, we go into this quieter moment, this place where we just rest, this place where our mind calms, our brain waves go slow, which is called the alpha state. And then we go into theta and delta when we sleep. So right before we sleep, the best thing to do is to script. Instead of watching TV, instead of watching the news, instead of having an argument with your spouse, instead of worrying about all the things of tomorrow, how about this? Get your worries out, put them on paper if you want to, write down the things that you just want to get off your mind, and then script out how you want it to go. Script out how you want tomorrow to go, the next week, the next year, the next 3 years, and it never gets boring. I script every single day, sometimes the same thing, sometimes different things, until they come to fruition. And the more I script, the more they come to fruition. So therefore, there is a science in it. You've got to practice it with repetition, which is what neuroscience is. And you do it all the time. You see, when you journal, when we put pen to paper, we activate the ventrolateral prefrontal cortex in our brain, which helps us to actually bring that goal to volition faster. That's why it's important to write it down with a pen and paper.
Well, and you mentioned that writing it is actually better than, I know the kids, and today everyone likes to text or voice something into their phone. You would suggest we actually do pen to paper. Why?
I'm old-fashioned. I like it anyway, but there is a lot more science behind it to say, as I was explaining with the parts of the brain, I won't go too deep into it right now, but the parts that are important are it helps you achieve that goal faster. So if you are typing, it's still good. It's just not as active, and it doesn't activate the parts in the same way. There's just a science behind it, pen to paper, if you can. We all love typing. I'm on my phone probably more than anybody. That's because I use it as a form of communication. And when I can't write on a pen and paper, because I don't have one and I can't find one, I will write it on my phone and then usually follow up with writing it on a pen and paper. So it's much more stimulating for the exercise itself.
Yeah, I have horrible handwriting, but I found that doesn't matter, right? It's just the act. If you can't read it later, that's okay. It's just the act of writing it and being there in those moments. And if you can't read it perfectly later, people shouldn't worry, right? Just do it. It's more of an automatic process.
Totally. I do it in the dark. I write in the dark before bed. I've got the candle on next to me. I'm about to blow it out. You literally cannot see. And it's all over the place. It doesn't matter. I'm just writing. I do it in the shower, on the shower wall. I sit and I do it with my hand, and I draw on the shower wall, on the glass. I write. I had the most amazing talk. And I spoke to 5,000 people, and the crowd was going wild, and I motivated them, and they loved my podcast. And I write about it. Like, I write a story about myself. I wrote about me coming on your amazing show today and podcast. I said, I had the most amazing interview with Caras, and it was so enlightening to so many people, and they bettered their life. Like, I love it. Writing about it in advance is the key.
Yeah. Where, I should ask, because people are listening in the car and they're going to hear your beautiful accent. Where did you grow up?
Oh, so kind. I'm British. So I was born in the UK in a place called Oxford on a farm. I was a farm girl, pretty much. My neighbors were cows and my best friends were sheep. And I grew up there, moved to London a little bit later on in my life. And since then, I've traveled around. I've mostly lived in America. Now I live full time in LA. But my British roots are very strong. I love them, and I like the science behind, some of the great parts of the British I've learned about myself. And yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's why you like the tea segment on Great Day, Connecticut earlier.
But I loved it. I loved it. I use tea as part of my ritual when I manifested my husband. I say the word ritual, but really every day I was opening this tea box and I was inhaling the smell of tea. And as I was just inhaling it before I put it in my tea, just before I made it, I just inhaled what I was going to be drinking. Is it a rose flavored tea? Is it a black tea? What is it I'm drinking? And I bought this particular one. It just smelled really nice. And as I was inhaling it, I would visualize the man of my life, this new person holding me. And then I'd obviously scripted out what it was like to be with him. I'd written in detail what it was like, and then I would drink my tea.
Yeah, so the rituals are really important. I mean, and I think all the world's wisdom traditions, whether you've grown up going to church or a mosque, or some of the rituals can be very comforting, and it also helps people just make it part of their life. So you can play around with that, make your own ritual with your own journaling, but the writing it down is something to add to your law of attraction. I want to ask you also, because you do have a podcast, I know you talk a lot about this. Tell us about the name of the podcast and where people can find you.
Absolutely. It's called the Law of Attraction Secrets podcast. It's something that I aim to inspire and motivate every person that tunes in and listens and watches. It's a place where you'll hear from wonderful guests, and every day you get a new piece of motivation right to your device. The coolest part is on a Saturday, you get a meditation. You get a meditation that you can do that will help you along this journey more. So it will help you to connect with your future self. It will help you to have good luck. The good luck meditation on there is absolutely second to none. It's a meditation that will help you to activate luck in your day. Luck is created by you. Every time I do this, I have miracles in my day. My A-list stars who have done it, Mary Fitzgerald's done it on Selling Sunset, Amanda Smith's done it on Selling Sunset. I've given it to Steve Aoki. I've given it to, who else? Tons of stars. And they all love my meditations. This one in particular has seen miracles happen. When you do it, you literally see breakthroughs in your life. It's so powerful. So for anyone that does it, beware, because it has strong good luck effects.
Well, I love it. And I think, you've been featured a lot of places. People can look up, as they go to your website and all. You've been in many magazines, the New York Times, Vogue, Forbes, USA Today. Congratulations on the best-selling book. But I want to, we only have less than 2 minutes left before we're going to have to end this episode, but I want to encourage people to follow you. You mentioned a lot about when you're scripting, it's not a lot of just me, me, me. You ask that your books serve people. How important is it that when you're putting this out to the universe, that you're asking that you be aligned with service?
Service is so important, because if you want something just for yourself, perhaps you'll get it, perhaps you won't. You're more than likely not going to get it in the way you want, because it's just for you. But if you want something for the betterment of others, if you want something so that it's going to serve others, it's service to the world, it's contributing to the world, to bettering humanity in some way, or adding value to somebody's life, as simple as helping them better their health, better their current situation and finances, or whatever it is they're going through. If you are helping someone better their life with your manifestation, with what it is you want to achieve, you are more than likely going to get it, because it serves other people. Living a life of service, wherever you've come from, you can do it anytime. You get a choice every day of whether you're going to light somebody's candle or whether you're going to blow it out.
Yes,
and by that,
this is, we want to say, it is Mental Health Awareness time. So this is for those who, are really feeling down. Again, I would bring you back if you're tuning in now. You had quite the story of, having an addiction, being in debt, being a single mom, and you've really used these processes to build yourself up. Where can people follow you on social media? I know you give some simple tips there, and your website. Can you shout those out for us too?
Absolutely. It's just Natasha Graziano on every platform. TikTok, YouTube, Instagram's probably the best one. You get the most there out of all of them. Just my name on every platform. And I love hearing from you guys. So whenever you message me, I actually get back to people myself in my DMs. And people are really like, what? We can't believe that it's you. And I'm like, it's me.
It's you, yes. Well, this is all wonderful stuff. So again, you can get the book. It's out everywhere now. Natasha, I'm going to go grab a journal. It's been a pleasure having you today. Thank you for inspiring so many.
Thank you so much for having me.
And if you want more information on the cutting edge of wellness, you can also follow me on social media. It's at Caras, also on every platform. So we like to share this content there. Have a great day, everyone, and be well.